Welcome back to the On The Go podcast. In our last episode, we talked with Belema Olagbemi about why it's so important to start saving into a pension early, how employer contributions work, and ways to make your money go further for retirement. Today, we're continuing that conversation, but this time we're diving into the common concerns and misconceptions that people have about pensions and ways that you can take charge and stay informed about your future finances. Let's jump in. So now let's talk about the common concerns and misconceptions. Some people think that, oh, I'll rely on state pension. What would you say to that mindset for people who are saying, well, I'll just rely on state pension. The state will take care of me.
As I said before, people are living longer. Can you afford, like, the winters are getting colder, heating bills,
They are.
food is getting more expensive. You might look at your state pension at the state pension now and think, yeah, it's going to be enough for me, but you just never know. You
Yeah.
just never know what will happen. The government might decide, and the government, I mean, before it was, I think it was 60 for female, 65, then it's
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
65 for both male and female, and then it's 67, and I think from 2030 or so is 68. Who, you don't know
It's
when is the
basically
time you
increasing.
want to retire. It
Yeah.
might be 70, it might be
Mm.
75. So the government keeps,
Yeah.
because of how long people are living, now the government is
Yeah.
pushing the state
The
pension
state
age.
pension
So
age.
if you're relying on the state pension age and you're saying, okay, are you saying you're going to carry on working until age 70
Oh
or
wow.
age
Yeah.
65 until age
Yeah.
68? I think my state pension is now age 68 thereabouts. So am I saying I'm going to carry on working if I haven't got any savings or anything until
Mm.
that age?
No.
So are you saying if you're relying on the state pension, then hopefully if you've got a mortgage, then yeah, then hopefully it's been paid off. But what if you haven't? So
Mm.
from that however 10,000 whatever amount it is, you're going to be paying rent. I don't know if state pension people pay council tax. I'm not sure, but if there is,
I
you're paying
suspect
council
they do.
tax. You're
Council
paying your
tax.
bills.
The council
You're
likes to
you're
save
paying,
money. I
yeah,
suspect they do.
yeah. You're paying for your heating. You're paying um for water. You're paying everything from that. That is not. I'm not sure that's enough for you
Mm.
to. Maybe that's enough for you to just survive. We hear of people, the elderly sometimes not heating their homes,
Yeah, I've heard stories of
because
that. They're not
because they
cooking.
haven't got
Yeah,
one. So
food
if
and put
you're
the heat on.
relying, it
Yeah,
might not be enough.
yeah, that's
It
true.
might not be enough for you. So I
Mm.
think instead of relying on the state pension, take responsibility for yourself, and let the state pension just be an addition. So you've
Yeah,
got your own. So why not? Yes, the state pension is there, but you've got your own funds. So let the state pension. You can use the state pensions to travel. If you and have your and live on your own retirement, and
yeah,
so that's a better way to think about it. Instead of
yeah.
relying on the state pension amount, you can have both. So there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong in having both, but to rely on just the
Mm.
state pension, I think, is quite dangerous.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So, is it ever too late? Now we've talked about, starting as early as possible in your 20s, 30s. So now, is it ever too late to start saving into a pension?
It's never too late. I mean,
Mm.
start today. Start even if you're 40, even if you're 50. Start today. I
Mm.
mean, you might just have to pay more into it, and yeah, you might just have to pay more into your pension fund. But it's
Mm.
never too late. Don't say, "Oh well, I didn't start in my 20s and my 30s. It's too late. I'm not going to bother." No, bother about it. Do it now. Go to your financial advisor and open a personal pension, or ask your employer.
Mm.
Find out how you can pay as much as you can that is
Mm.
reasonable and possible for you to do.
Mm. Okay, I like that. Bother. So, guys, please bother and pay into your pension scheme. So, what's your take on the fear or confusion that people have around investing, especially since pensions are invested?
Um, it's everything is a risk. If you
Mm.
say, I'm going to bury my, put my money in under the mattress, you know,
You could go
depending unless it's coins, um, rats or
Rats can
something
eat
you
it.
could come and eat it. You know, if you everything in other, you know, you have to balance risk. I can't remember what it's called. You have to balance risk. There's always a,
Yeah,
you know, what is there to say if I get on a bus, something's not going to happen to the bus.
yeah.
Everything is a
It's
risk. You
always a
have to, you know, yes it is, and that's why, you know, it's always good to invest from, as I said, when you're younger, because then it gives it time to
mm,
do all of, or
mm,
whatever it needs to do. But there are some pension funds that are safe. So let's say you have a personal pension provider, uh, um, or personal pension plan. There's something called lifestyling, where you say to the person's personal pension, or yeah, the investment company, and
mm,
you say, I want my funds invested in lifestyling. And so
mm,
what it does is, let's say you started investing from your 20s, so
mm,
it puts it in bonds, which is less risky than shares,
mm.
and there are different levels of risk.
Okay.
And as you get older, what these funds do, they remove your funds from high risk investments to
Okay.
medium risk. So as you get to retirement age, they begin to reduce your exposure to risk,
Okay.
so
Okay.
that as you, let's say you're getting to your 50s, I think I read somewhere that when you get to your 50s, they begin to reduce the risk,
Mm-hmm.
your risk exposure. So instead of putting in maybe in shares, or things like that, they put it in bonds, which is a bit more stable,
Yeah.
and then they start putting it into cash and just less things that are risky. So it's you would get something. You would definitely get
Mm-hmm.
better than if you, I don't know, put it in a bank account, and I'm not sure how much bank accounts, what
Yeah. If
interest rate
there's
you get
any,
in a
if
bank
there's any
account. But
interest.
you
Yeah.
yeah, so it's better to definitely speak to a financial advisor, definitely speak to
Yeah.
an investment person, and they are able to handle your risk. So you could say to them, I don't like risk, and they could talk you
Mm.
through what kind of risk. They'll make sure you're comfortable with
Yeah.
whatever.
With the
You have
kind
a
of
say, basically. You can
yeah.
say, no, I don't want it to be in this kind of shares, I don't want it to be in international shares, I don't want it to be in this, I want it to be in that. They can have a conversation with you, and they would always, no company would force you to invest in something that you're not comfortable. They would
Yeah.
explain all of the elements of the risk to you, and make sure that you're comfortable, and do whatever it is that you want to do. So no, have conversations. I think a lot of the times people are scared and worried because they just hear news. They don't do investigations, they don't talk to people, they don't
Mm.
talk to experts.
Experts. Yeah.
And so because of
That's
that,
true.
they just go, oh, I know this person who invested in this, and they invested their pension fund, and this happened, and they
Yeah.
lost everything. Or
Yeah.
this person who transferred their funds into this and that, and they lost everything. But they haven't spoken to the right people. I mean, there are pension scams out there, and that's why people have to be really careful and speak to the right people.
Yeah.
Make sure so yes, I agree that there are people who have scammed some people out of their pension funds, but it's because they didn't have the right information. Someone just phoned them up and said, oh, transfer your funds to this and this would
And
happen.
you get this
Beware
money
of
back,
those.
which
Yeah,
actually leads me to the next question, because I was going to ask what common pension mistakes do people make and how can they avoid them? And I think what you just said about the scams, it was probably the number one thing, because I know that a few years ago there was really, it seemed as if just an increase in people being scammed out of their pension scheme, out of
yeah,
their pension, that somehow they would, some dodgy person would say, company will call them up and say you can get this amount of money
yeah,
out of your pension, and then they would transfer it, and then they would lose the money. There was something about this in the news a few
yeah.
years ago.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are charlatans out there. There are people who just would scam people out of their pensions. I mean, I heard of someone who he was in his 70s, I think, or 60s, or he was retired, and they took everything. They scammed this man of everything. So there are people out there, and that's why what the government is doing, they're putting in they're making it tighter for these scams to happen. They're doing all that they can to protect
So
people.
yeah, to
One of the things that the government has done is to ensure that, I think, is if you have I think it's under 30,000. I mean, lots of pension schemes have been trained. There's so much training. Like, obviously, I work in a pensions company. So they do lots of training to ensure that when a member phones up and says, I want to transfer my funds to another pension scheme, lots of checks are done.
mm,
So before you are allowed to transfer your pension fund. I think there's a minimum amount. I can't remember how much it is. Where they want to see that you have received financial advice from a reputable company. So they want to see the financial advice that you've been given. So
okay,
pension administrators are being trained to do
okay,
lots of checks before
check.
that happens. And you have people who would say, oh, if you transfer your funds to us, we will give you £10,000 straight away. Or you can take
Oh,
all of it as a lump sum, or you can retire before age 55. And you can't
you
retire. I
can't
think that's one
retire.
thing that people need
Yeah, I
to
think that's
realize is you
the
can't
minimum age,
retire if you're in a
retirement age is 55, isn't it?
yeah,
It is, yeah.
so the minimum age you can retire is 55. So if someone phones you up and says if you transfer your funds and you can retire before 55, no,
Yeah,
unless the only basis that you would retire before 55 is if you're retiring on ill health.
on ill health.
So that's
Yeah,
the only basis, or if you've got under a year to live and things like that. So
yeah. Because
there's
even
quite
even in
stringent.
ill health, it has to be checked, doesn't it? You have to
Yeah,
have something.
it has to. Yeah, a doctor has got
Your
to.
yeah,
So
your
there are
medical.
so
Yeah,
anyone that comes to you and says, "Oh, yeah, you can. This can happen and that can happen." Check, check, check. Speak to an independent financial advisor. If someone just phone calls you on the phone, and just ask you, no, those are cold calling, and you should beware. Just put the phone down,
yeah,
on those people. You
yeah,
don't want to hear
yeah,
anything.
yeah.
Go to the government has got, I'm not sure what, I think it's Pension Wise or one of those websites where there's a list of independent financial advisors that the government has approved that you can ask questions. Don't let anyone call you. So yes, there are people who want to scam, but you just have to be aware. Just like you have identity thefts,
Mm,
it's the same way. There would always be people who are out to scam other people. You just have to
mm,
be aware. And if it sounds too good to be true, it
it
probably
is.
is too good to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that. Okay, so now we're going to this section is all about taking control and staying informed. How can Belema, how can people find out, for people who maybe don't know how much their pension is, how can they find out how much is in their pension, especially if they've had several jobs?
So I would say, I think, I'm not sure if it's pension wise, and I was going to check this before I joined, and I didn't have the time to do that. But I think definitely go to think of all the companies where you've worked,
Mm-hmm.
and you can write to the company to find out, and just say, or
Yeah.
the HR department, and say, oh, I worked here from this time to this time, and I think I've got a pension. I think I was in the pension scheme. Can you send me what's it called? I think it's called a scheme benefit of what my benefits were with you, and they should be able to trace you. If you were there for at least 2 years, they should be
Mm,
able to, and you had a pension, they should be able to
mm,
trace. So you could do all of that.
yeah.
Pension wise, I think it's pension wise where you can, if you've got various pensions, you can consolidate your pension into one place for easier management. I think an independent financial advisor would also give you advice whether it's worth you drawing taking your closing your company pension into a personal pension. So there's definitely lots of ways. I would say I think it's pension wise,
Mm.
that is able to advise you and say, oh, this is where your pension is, or you have. I know I did it for someone, and I think this was a while ago, where just with your national insurance number, you are able to trace all of
Oh, okay. Yeah.
your
Yeah.
pension, wherever you've had a pension. But
Wherever
it is
you've worked
possible
a
to
pension.
check, and yeah, just call up all of the companies and just say, or send a letter or an email to all of the companies, and they should be able to provide you
Mm.
with that information.
Mm. Actually, you know what? I think maybe you've been reading my notes because I was going to ask you that what are pension consolidations and whether they might be a good idea. I know again you're not giving us financial advice, but I just wanted for people who don't know what maybe they've heard of those words pension consolidations. And so can you just briefly just explain what they are and
Okay.
whether it's something people can look into at the very least?
Yeah, so consolidation is just you bringing all your pensions together under
Mm.
one roof, under one house. So you might have worked in Tesco and then Sainsbury's, and then you became a teacher, and then you worked in a company, as you worked in various places over the last 10, 15, 20 years,
Mm.
and you joined all of the pension scheme, and it's difficult for you to manage, or they're really small amounts in all of these places. So
Mm-hmm.
you can decide, you can open maybe a personal pension, or a personal pension, and bring all of those benefits into one
Oh,
place. I
okay.
mean,
Got it.
so that's what pension consolidation is, bringing all of your pensions together. However, the general, I don't want to say advice, but they normally say, for financial advisors anyway, always start from the point where you tell people transferring your company pension to a personal pension is not the right option. So start from there first and think, okay,
Okay.
because with the company pension, let's say you work for Tesco's or Sainsbury's, there are certain guarantees that they give. Let's say when you left the scheme, you were going to get £2,000 per annum. And let's assume that, so let's say you left that in 2020 and
Mm-hmm.
you're retiring in 2030.
Mm-hmm.
That £2,000, by the time it's 2030, by the time it revalues, so Tesco would say, we guarantee no matter what happens, this
Mm-hmm.
money will increase by, let's say, 5%. It might not be up to
Mm.
5%. So by the time you retire, you're guaranteed that whatever happens is going to increase.
Yeah.
So that's what happens in 2030. Now, if in 2020 you decide, I'm going to take my so over 2020 to 2030 is just 10 years. I'm
Yeah.
going to take that pension from Tesco's and I'm going to put it in the personal pension, which is going to be invested in the stock markets. There are no guarantees. It
Mm.
might be that the money has been doing so well up to 2029, and then come 2030 something
Something
happens.
happens.
um there's no guarantee. It's
Yeah.
your loss. You bear all of the loss.
Well, the
Now,
yeah.
Tesco may have invested that money into the same place that you were going to invest it in the
Oh, but
personal
because
pension,
of the
and
guarantees.
and it's gone down in 2029. But
Oh,
because Tesco has guaranteed
indeed.
that no matter what,
Yeah.
you will get 3,000 or 5,000 pounds in 2030, you
Additional.
don't
Yeah.
care what happens in the stock market, you get that. So
You
that's
get
what
that
a
money.
company pension guarantees. That's the good thing about it. So that's why financial advisors normally say, start from a place that a company, transferring your company pension or consolidating your company pension from the company into this, is just start from, it's not worth it. But then when you come from that point, then you can then make a case for it being worth it. So if in the end you find out that, the financial advisor gives you calculations and or models and says, oh no, it is worth it, then it is worth it. But always
Mm.
start from there. So always start from that. If I had a company pension, I would not close. Personally, I would not transfer my company
From
pension,
a
but that's
company
just me,
pension to a personal
into a
pension.
personal
Yeah, I
pension. Yeah, I
understand.
would leave my
Because of the
company pension
benefits you
until,
get from company
yeah,
pensions as
because of the
opposed to
yeah because of the
um,
benefits.
or
Yeah,
potential
so
benefits you gain for company pension as opposed to personal pension. No,
yeah,
that's great.
but
No,
it
I
might
like
be good
that.
for someone. I'm not saying that that is
Yeah,
like the
it it's
law,
not a
but it's
one
just
size fits
always
all.
come from that place that company
Yeah.
pension is better than a personal pension.
Okay. No, I got it. Got it. And I'm sure the people watching also understand that. So where can you suggest that people can get trustworthy, jargon-free pension advice? Because sometimes the pension wording is like what? So
Yeah.
where can they get trustworthy, jargon-free pension advice?
Definitely, if you've got a company pension, speak to your. There should always be, if there's a company pension, there would be either a pensions administrator in your company, or there would be a third party
Mm,
administrator. You can
that
some
they can
some
speak to.
companies, their HR departments are able to help. There might be a pensions person, or they would be able to direct to you. But I would definitely speak to. If you've got a company pension, speak to your company HR,
Hmm.
and they should be able to point you to the right direction. And then in terms of all of the stuff, I think pension wise, I would say go on their website. You're able to book an appointment. You're able to email someone. I think Pension B. I was talking to someone and they said they had an appointment with Pension B. I think that's another. I don't know too much about Pension B, but I think that's another. I'm not sure if it's a government funded company or if it's a private one, but I think you can get as much information. Just Google pension wise
Google
pension
it.
B. They should be able to provide you with some information. But if you've got company pension, speak to your HR person.
Good, good, good. No, this is great stuff. Thank you so much, Belema. So if someone listening is feeling, they're feeling behind after everything you've just said, they're feeling overwhelmed or even unsure, what's one small empowering step that you would suggest that they can take today?
I would say look at your finances
Hmm.
and see where you can save. Even if you're putting 10, 20 pounds aside a month, that is a start, because what that does is it just gets you into the habit of just saving some money. I would
Mm,
say another suggestion would be to open an ISA. I think now you can open an ISA with £1. That's another
mm,
way that you saved. I think there's also tax relief on ISAs. But if you are in a company, speak to your the HR, not the payroll, or whoever does the payroll in your company, and
yeah.
just say to them, yeah, you want to start contributing, or you want to know about your pension options. And
Mm,
then just, but the first thing you have to do is not to do anything. Not doing anything is not an option.
mm,
There's no need to be worried, to be afraid. Just get as much information as you can, and then when you have the right information, you're able to make an informed decision.
mm,
As I said, yes, save £10 a month. Maybe open an ISA. Speak to your HR person. Get advice. Get financial advice. Go on pensions wise website. Just do something, and yeah, and
yeah. Oh, this is great.
you'll be good.
Belema, thank you so much. This has been such a valuable conversation. Thank you again. As I said, a lot of people, they don't think about pensions. They wait till it's too late. So this is really such a valuable conversation. Thank you again for breaking pensions down in such a relatable way. And if there's one message, guys, that you need to take away, it's this: that your future will thank you will thank us for this information that we've just this information that Bellamar especially, I've just been asking questions. This information that Bellamar especially has provided for us, and your future self will thank you for every pound, as Bellamar said, every pound you save today, because it starts with a habit. So whether you're just starting out or you're playing catch up, the important thing, as Bellama has said, is to take action. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend who could use a pension pep talk. And don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you next time on the On the Go podcast. Until then, take care of yourself and your future self too. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.